here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned. Immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's the turn of the singer Anne Richmond Boston, who I spoke to very recently to find out more about life, love, poetry and all that other groovy stuff. Was in the band The Swimming Pool Cues during the late 70s and early 80s, and then went on to release 2 solo albums. One titled The Big House of Time on DB Records, and another one, I Should Be Happy, which didn't get released but will be released this coming summer. I'll put a link in the notes below so you'll be able to listen to it or at least find it. So this is the interview. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Anne, it's over to you.
Oh, gosh. Well, I was born in 54. So the 60s is when I grew up in the States. That's when it was just, the music was just exploding at that point, and I had older siblings, so they were always listening to music, from classical to rock to, whatever was happening that day. And there were a couple of really great pop festivals that were happening in Atlanta at that point. And it was just really exploding. But I listened to a lot of obviously the Beatles I remember hearing, we bought the 45 when it came out and put it on the stereo, and we saw them on the Ed Sullivan Show. So it was from there, it was total explosion.
Yes, and you must have sort of been aware of that cultural change in the 60s quite a bit, really. You'd have been in an ideal age, actually, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Seeing it all start to develop. So did you have any, were your parents at all interested in music or arts? Did they give you any kind of inspiration?
Not really. Neither of them. I think my father, he was an engineer, so I think he, I found some of his, after he died, I found some old sketchbooks of his, but he never pursued any sort of visual art. And then they both liked, music of their time, but they didn't really go out to hear music, and neither of them played music. So that was not a thing that was displayed around the home.
Yes, and sometimes people's older brothers or sisters have a massive impact. I had an older brother who was 7 years older. This was the 70s, so he was into the prog rock period of Sweet Slade, T-Rex. No, he wasn't. He was into Yes, Genesis, Wishbone Ash, those sort of bands. Serious gatefold sleeves, Roger Dean. He was it was all very studious. I think it's amazing wherever you're born in life, that music that you listened to when you were 16 is kind of just everything, really. I think you just learn the lyrics and identify with it.
Yeah, I can still sing them. I can still sing them now. I have, can't remember yesterday, but I can still remember lyrics to the songs.
Well, yes, well, absolutely. I was a massive fan. We had an album in the house by the Carpenters, and I was obsessed by this. The lyrics were just extraordinary, and the sentiment. And I must have only been about 8 at the time, but I found it really incredible. And then there was a Paul Simon record as well. I think it was a best of that my brother had. And again, lots of songs about alienation and loneliness and being a rock. I had to work out what a metaphor was at a very early age. It was very confusing, wasn't it? Yeah. So did you have any older siblings?
Oh, yeah. I had 3 older siblings, and my brother was really into Bob Dylan, and my sisters were into, my oldest sister was kind of into, 50s music. So I can remember her playing a bunch of 45s on the stereo, and things like lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, lolly, things like that. And then my middle sister, the second sister, she was really into, she was into everything like Hendrix and, everything that was happening at the pop festival that year. And then my brother got into Van Morrison, and he ended up living in Dublin for a long time. And
wow.
So it's just been. They were always bringing great music into the house. And
well, yes. Did you at that stage were you had you got yourself into a sort of patchouli state of mind and was sort of, I don't know, smoking dope and going to concerts at the age of 16? Was that something that was
No,
on your...
I didn't get really awakened into all that stuff till after I got out of high school. But I was, just singing. When I was young, I sang in the church choir, and then I was really in high school is when the first time I sang with a band, and that was really fun. But we sang, some oldies. We did a Jerry Lee Lewis song and then a Dixie Cup song going to the chapel. So that was the
Right.
first experience behind a microphone, and that kind of got me.
Got you nudged along. So when you get to 16, in this country, you can leave school in the 70s anyway with no qualifications, or some people, managed to sort of, I mean, it was kind of strange in that period because, I mean, if you're working class, it was like, don't worry about your exams, just go out to the factory and get a job somewhere. You've got no hope, so don't worry about it. So, it was kind of the careers teacher must have had an amazing life because it was very, and teachers, because they didn't have to worry about any form of performance. It was just like, you can leave school after Easter and go. Don't worry about anything. Just get going, kid. Go
Yeah, I
work in
like
that.
that idea.
I don't know. I think it's sort of, I don't know. It's then hard to bounce back. But did you at 16, did you say you stayed on and went to high school?
I was in high school. Here, high school ends at age 18.
Right.
So, but the minute I, was able, I graduated in March of that year of 72, and I couldn't go to the college that I wanted to go to because my father couldn't afford it. So I ended up, that was it. I moved out of the house and just got a job, and, the first job I could find, which actually was really weird. I was working in the surgical department at a hospital.
Right.
So, and then I just, lived my life ever since,
Yes. Well, yes. Did you, at that age, if being young and then sort of with the 60s coming to a close, thinking, wow, the 60s have been incredible, even, in between 14 to the end of the decade. And then so it sort of ends on a bit of a downer, doesn't it? There was the death of Morrison, Hendrix, Joplin, Altamont, the Beatles breakup. I mean, the 60s feel like the party definitely ended. What was it like for you at sort of that age, thinking, oh, I was expecting it all to somehow continue, and then suddenly another wave of young people appear?
Yeah, I mean, there was always, it was shocking how many people died, at such a young age. But I think, there was so much music going on that it just kind of filled the gap, So I never had any lack of finding things
Yes.
that I wanted to, listen to or go hear. And, in Atlanta
So
at the time, they had a lot of really good live music. So that was great.
where was this?
In Atlanta, Georgia, it was
Right. So
the capital city. So people, even though it was the South, Georgia has a lot of musicians, that came from Georgia, but a lot of
yes.
touring bands would come to Atlanta. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, and what was your first concert you went to?
to the Monkees.
Classic. That was good. Well, actually, I've just been reading, I don't know where, but I was, like I said, I was in America last week and read about, or saw some little piece about Mike Nesmith. Is it Nesmith?
Uh-huh.
And that his mother was a terrible secretary and a single mother, but she developed white ink and became a billionaire. And he obviously, could be a happy musician and live his life quite relaxed. I didn't realize that the mother, was
That's such a great story. I love it.
It is. I mean, I'd only just sort of come across it because obviously someone developed it, but I didn't realize the mother was Mike's mum. So, yes, yeehaw the
The
monkey.
mother of a monkey.
The mother of a monkey. Yes, this is it. I know. God, what a story. That is extraordinary. Yeah, so the monkey. So that was your first.
But that was I lived in Louisville, Kentucky at that time, so I was a huge Monkees fan, and I think I was 12 or 13 at that point, and then they came and played, and it was like, teeny bopper. I had a front row seat, It was incredible.
Yeah, well, God, I mean, going to any concert when you're young is incredible, but
Oh yeah.
such an iconic band as well, which would be brilliant. So then how did you navigate that 70s period with, you had the singer-songwriter and Laurel Canyon vibe, then you had the prog rock in Britain, then a bit of heavy rock, and then, sort of mid-70s things started to get a bit more punk. What was your 70s like at this stage?
Well, we were in Atlanta at this point, and there were a lot of bands in Atlanta, a lot of bands forming that were, people I knew and people my age, and forming some really cool original rock bands, that were, I'm sure, inspired by everything that was going on then. But so I kind of fell in with them and, got to sing on a couple of their records, background vocal and stuff, and it was great. And then uh, would go to concerts and ended up joining this band in 78,
Yes,
the
this
swimming
is
pool
it.
cues, and so that, and we've been together now for 48 years. So
That's amazing. So how did the band develop then, or how did it sort of form?
it
And were
was,
you and were you at that stage? Were you already playing keyboards and singing?
no, well, I don't even play an instrument really. I just kind of tried to do something so I wouldn't look ridiculous on stage. But I I always loved to sing, and the two guys, Bob and Jeff, that started the band, they had a mutual friend, Glenn Phillips, who was also a friend of mine, and he just suggested, well, you should get Anne to sing in the band. And so, that's what happened, and it was great. And I don't think I played anything on it at first, but then I started playing a little bit of keyboards. But
Yes.
I can't call myself a keyboard player by
A
any
bit
means.
like Linda McCartney then.
I don't know about that.
I just watched a documentary on Man on the Run, and Linda was there. I mean, giving it everything. It was a lovely story. So that was quite good because they had released the first single before you joined. Was it Rat Bait? Had
No, I
been
was in the band at that point.
You were on in the band and rocking. My
Mhm.
God! And did you get a record label quite quickly? Did you get signed?
Well, there was a label that had started in Atlanta called DB Records, and they had put out the B-52's first single. And so,
Right.
so then he started putting out records. So he put out the Swimming Pool Cue's first LP. And so that was really, we were so excited.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
Then we toured up and down the East Coast, and you
So were
know,
you at that stage? Had you got some quite interesting tours and support slots?
um, yeah, yeah. I mean, we did a lot of opening. I mean, we opened for, of course, I don't remember, Devo and the Police and Bow Wow Wow and the Split Ends and all those kinds of bands. And then we just toured ourselves and played small clubs up and down the East Coast, and that was really a blast. Which
God.
is,
So did so
so
you met the manager of Miles Copeland of the Police then?
oh well, yeah, we met the Copeland family.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, so I did an interview with him when he brought his book out a few years ago, and
Oh yeah.
he's always got this story that they played when they got booked for America in front of four people, but one of them was this person who launched their career, and the rest is history, as they say. It all went well until he bought a castle in France, I think, and then that's when it all goes to. It always goes downhill. What a mad idea that was. Yes. So that was interesting because that was the I mean, the 80s for me, which is kind of my decade, really. I mean, it changes so much in this country. There was that punk had sort of had its moment, but had faded quite badly, really, in the UK, in my opinion. And then you had post-punk, then you had, all this new kind of, you had sort of I don't know, electronic music started to appear with people like Heaven 17 and Human League, and then that kind of production sound with Trevor Horn started to come in, and then indie pop came in a bit later. What was it like for you, sort of going from the late 70s into the 80s? Because it's such a different decade. We had Thatcher, you had Reagan, then it was MTV, wasn't it? I mean, on one level it was all great, and on another it's
Well, yeah,
hideous.
I
And
don't
Dallas,
think.
you gave us Dallas as well, which was, I know, we were traumatized by this kind of TV, actually.
Yeah, America has a lot to to answer for, especially right now. But I think, I was just completely. I think more than anything, I was probably oblivious to everything, and just really focused on what we were doing, and listen to things that were coming out. But even, I mean, I can remember when the Q's were touring so much and playing so much, I hardly ever listened to music, and so it would just be, I'd hear the bands that we'd play with, and that would be great. And then, I didn't really listen to the radio much. I think we were just focused on what we were doing, unfortunately.
Yes. At that stage, were you still keeping your day job, or had you?
Oh, I always have had to have a day job. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's quite different in America to the UK because we had a lot of our bands from the 80s were all sort of signing on unemployment benefit and
Yeah. You can't
such
do that
like,
here.
which kind of did help a little bit of the creative process in
Well,
some
plus
ways.
the other thing that I was talking recently to somebody. We toured. We did this big tour with Lou Reed, which was just incredible, and traveled all over the country and up into Canada, and so it was a big deal. And so that at the end of the tour, it was in Atlanta, which was our home base, and we played. We got on stage and did this couple songs with him, and it was just great. And we had the best time, and he was great to us and very gracious. But so there was this after party, and we were all sitting around a table, and Lou says, "Well, would you guys be interested in, going with me to Europe?" And we were like, "Yes." I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? Because we'd never played anywhere in
Yes.
Europe. And so we were all very excited, but then the record company, A&M, wouldn't pay for it. So that was that. But, people were, have saying how, over there, everything's so compact. You can play so many different kinds of places in a short amount of time, whereas it's
Oh
here.
God, you
Here,
could
it just
fit you
takes
could fit
forever.
you could fit Britain in your back pocket, really, can't
Right.
you? It is really tight. I know. God, you sort of, yes, it is literally. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the thing that happened in this country is that every city and town has an alternative indie night,
Yeah.
and quite quick. And we had 3 weekly music papers that had quite a big
Oh,
circulation,
yeah.
and we had people like John Peel, who was this great DJ who sort of introduced us to all this alternative new kind of indie stuff, as well as other, rap music and African music and reggae and stuff. But, it was like this was the go-to place as well. So bands could quickly get their little transit van and get in the
Right.
circuit and sort of before you know it, do a 20-day tour without any break. And it's, just literally going from all these cities, I mean, it is so small, isn't it? After being in America, thinking, God, it's so,
Yeah.
yeah. So that does help, and then obviously Europe, and to be honest, when you're a kid listening to music, even in your 20s, you're still a kid, really, aren't you?
Yes.
It always seems very exciting when John Peel would play a band from sort of some obscure place in America because you just always want to discover somebody that no one else has, and it being yours and nobody else's, and you feel terribly sort of cultured and deep and meaningful. It's terribly. We have to be very totally. We were so self-obsessed in those years. Well, when you're young, would
Oh,
be
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Trying
absolutely.
to
So
figure it
when you
all
did
out.
your first album came out, that was 81, The Deep End, wasn't it? Can you
Mhm.
remember much about that session?
Oh, yeah. It was really, so exciting and really fun. And we did it at this crazy place called the Protestant Recording. Let's see, PRT, Protestant. I can't remember. It was called PRTDC, but anyway, it was this studio where this big religious radio network had a giant studio. They had a big church organ in there and everything, and so it was our first experience being in a studio like that. And it was really fun. But I remember that John Lennon was killed while we were doing that session, and it was such a shock. That's one of the
Oh,
main things I remember about it. But it was
yes.
it was
God.
you
Yes, it
know.
was quite because was it Bruce Baxter was your producer on that album?
Mhm.
You remember?
And he was in my band. He was in the band that I really loved in Atlanta called Thermos Greenwood. He was the guitar player in that band, and they were really great, ahead of their time.
Yes. And then when that came out, did you tour the album?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure we did. Yeah.
Yes. And then you have quite a break before your next release. Is there personnel changes and creative differences that start to happen in this point?
Well, I think right before we went on the tour after the record came out, the bass player quit, and then the drummer quit soon after that. So we had to get a new drummer and a new bass player, and that was pretty wild. But it all worked out, and they were great. But it was kind of sad because they had put so much work into the record. But so yeah, that changed. But then those two guys stayed with the band for many years, and
Yes.
and the music started to change after that too. I think Jeff started writing more songs for me to sing and things like that.
Yeah. Did you, because then you went from DB Records to A&M, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was that an exciting change of direction or?
We thought it would be, yeah. I mean, Jeff, who's the singer-songwriter guy who formed the Swimming Pool Cues. He, at the time, it was pretty amazing because he actually got us the record deal, and that's kind of unheard of, without having a manager or anything. He was basically our manager. So he got us that A&M deal, and and that was the first part of it. I mean, when it first happened was really fun, and the first record was great. We worked with this guy David Anderley, who was fantastic human, and then really fun to be around. And Ed Stasium engineered it. I don't know if they co-produced it or he just engineered it, but they were both just so great to work with, and we had a blast doing that.
Yes. So you did 2 albums with
A&M, yeah.
A&M Records, kind of trundling through the 80s. Were you still sort of in love with, because most bands I found doing this show, sort of, especially the 80s, have a kind of a bit of a 5-year narrative. They have a 12-month honeymoon period, and they get a single. John Peel played it. They get in the NME with an interview and a single of the week and that stuff. And they get their little transit van tour. First album, things are going well. Second album, possibly on a bigger label, things are going sort of difficult. People hadn't read the contract at that point, but never mind. They were sort of young and innocent, which is good.
Exactly, totally naive, totally.
And then the third album is the one where everyone's asking some questions and feeling quite poor, but also quite frazzled with the group dynamic. So what was it like for you during that kind of, because you actually last much longer than this, don't you? You sort of,
yeah.
You go through, because you get your second album, Blue Tomorrow, then get dropped by A&M, and then you're on Capitol and release World War II .5.
Yeah, I wasn't in the Cues during that. I quit the Cues. I dropped out of the band in '87 after that second A&M release, and then they put out that record on Capitol. I mean, I designed the cover and that kind of thing, and we're still friends and everything, but I wasn't singing on that record. And
yes.
Then I sang on the next one that they put out. But yeah, that A&M experience was it was good. The parts of it were really great. I mean, the Lou Reed tour was fantastic, and it got us some great exposure and all that. But the one thing for the second, I think it was the second album, yeah, they decided, I don't know whose idea it was, but they decided to send just me, to New York for a makeover.
Right.
Because I guess I wasn't, I wasn't, sexy enough or whatever it was they thought that I should be, and sent me up there, and it was at the time when crimping hair was real popular, and they crimped my hair, and then they showed me how to put on makeup, which I never wear makeup, and I was just like, what is going on? It was, I was too like, okay, I'll do it. If this will help, I'll do it, But now I'm looking back on it, I'm like, man, I should have nipped that in the bud.
Yes. Well, I suppose at that point, I mean, for us, there was the indie world. I suppose when there was like, I don't know, I was really massively into the Smiths and all these kind of jingly jangly bands. But then there was people that came along like Michelle Shocked, and then Tracy Chapman, Suzanne Vega. So you had that kind of a lot of Everything But the Girl, lots of angsty indie people. But then you had Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, and the Bangles, who were great, but they then got a bit of a makeover as well, didn't they? So
yeah, and that just wasn't me. I mean, it was kind of disappointing. But our band was really hard I think for A&M to even figure out what to do with. Our band, having a male and female singer, and our songs were really quirky, and new wave was a thing, and plus they had people like the Police on their label, and I mean it was just like we were an afterthought.
Yes, God, it is tricky, isn't it? So then you become a solo artist. So for the rest of the 80s, Are you, because some people just say, I've had it, I'm not doing any music for a while, and then one day think I'll do something. I'm going to get back into it. What was your journey on that
Well,
coming
what
back?
happened was I had met this guy on one of the Q's tours. We played this club, and I met this guy named Rob Gal, who was a guitar player, and his band was supposed to play, but the club was overbooked, so they ended up just hanging around because they had heard of the Q's, at this point, and so we, exchanged numbers and kind of kept it. Well, I tried to keep in touch, but he didn't really respond to my letter. At this point, there was no email or anything. Respond
No,
to the
not even
letters.
dial-up.
And so then when our first album on A&M came out, he had gotten back in touch with me. So he was living in Minnesota, and he ended up moving to Atlanta to check out the music scene, And so this was when I was still in the Q's, and he ended up staying with me, and we fell in love or whatever. And then after uh, after I left the Q's, I can't really remember how it happened that we ended up putting out a solo record on DB Records again. But
Is this the Big House of Time?
yeah, and so Rob plays, guitar on it. He wrote a lot of the songs, and then Brendan O'Brien, who then went on to become a really famous producer, he produced it. So
Yes.
it was really fun to do. I was pregnant at the time. I think I was 7 months pregnant when we recorded that record. But
Right. Yes. Well, it's so your songwriting then at this stage, it just,
really, I wasn't. I mean, I would help Rob with some, I would maybe add a few lyrics here and there, but he did most of the songwriting that was original on there, and then we did a few covers. But no, I was always too insecure or too, I knew too many great musicians and songwriters for me to even think that I could attempt that kind of thing. So I basically was an interpreter. I was
right.
just interpret the songs and not write or anything like that.
Yes. And
So
then, so now you've got coming right up to date. Yeah, I Should Be Happy.
yeah.
So this is the second album, the long
Yeah.
lost second solo album. It has been quite lost, hasn't it, actually? What's the story with this?
Well, it was recorded after the Big House of Time came out. It got really good reviews, and we played a little bit, but then it just kind of died on the vine. I mean, as everything does that doesn't have a lot of money behind it. But but DB said, there were still some songs that we had, and so I think he said, well, let's go in the studio and do a second album. And so we recorded at this point, Rob had his own studio, and so we recorded it at his studio, and he produced it and engineered and played on it and wrote most of the songs, or a lot of the songs on it.
Yes.
And then it
And this
just
was recorded at Snack and Shack
back in
Studios.
Shack. Yeah, that was his studio.
Ah, so he was a good producer as well.
Yeah, he just loved, I mean, music was his thing, and he just loved it. And he had, his influences were like, Elvis Costello and XTC and all these bands that had just great production on their records. And,
Did he like Joe Jackson as well?
oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
They all
Actually,
go
I
together.
remember going to see
Graham
Jack Jackson.
Parker and Rumor, yes.
Yeah, yeah, all those people. Yeah, we've got all those records. And so we did that record, and then Danny, the DB Records, said they didn't have the money to put it out. So, as Rob had put so much time and effort into it, and then it was right around the time we were going through separation and divorce and all that. So basically, it was just forget it. And then when his studio closed a few years after that, just because everybody started having their own in-home studios, there was just no need to have any other place to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
This
So
this
he
is
closed. Yeah, it's just crazy.
so that you had the master tapes, but the record just never sort of surfaced. Is that correct?
Yeah. He gave me the tapes after he closed his studio, and I thought, whoa, what am I going to do with these? But, but I just held on to them for a long time. And, I have a whole lot of musician friends in Atlanta, and ended up moving to Athens. But this friend of mine, Clay Harper, who has actually done some stuff with Reckless Eric, and he's he's a pizza magnate in Atlanta. He started a pizza business and it became huge. So he said, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. He and Rob were in a band called the Coolies. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they were really crazy. They were
Mm, it
they
does
were on
ring
DB Records as well. But
right.
they did a
Yes.
whole album of Simon and Garfunkel covers, but it was sort of done tongue in cheek with sort of a punk atmosphere. Punk.
No, nice. Well,
Yeah, you'll have to check that
I
out.
will check that out. I'm a big fan. And it's interesting you mentioned Reckless Eric because he's now living in North Norfolk with
Yeah,
his new
with
part,
Amy Rigby. Yeah,
Amy Wigand, who's look at that. It's like it's
yeah,
been
yeah.
perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I've managed to interview both of them actually, and
Oh, good.
so they've
Yeah,
got a little studio on the North Norfolk coast, and do little bits and pieces. I think yes, they're happy and
yeah,
probably relieved to be I don't know somewhere in the countryside. I think a
yeah.
lot of people have started sort of, becoming not hermits, but sort of go to the countryside and get a sort of nice studio in the garden, and off they go and enjoy
Yeah.
themselves. So yeah. So did you meet Reckless and Eric and
I have
Amy?
never met him. I've never met Amy either, but I love her stuff. And but Clay is friends with both of them, I guess. And he
Right.
he decided that when he asked me, well, why don't we go ahead and get your tapes digitized? And I was like, well, okay. So he paid to go in a studio and have the tapes transferred to digital. And that was probably 8 years ago. And I thought, okay, so now that's cool. That's on digital. I'll just get whatever that's called, uh, Pro Tools, and I'll just learn how to do that myself. And I'll just make this happen myself. And I got a subscription to Pro Tools and just never did anything. And then so it was just kind of frustrating. But
Well,
I had a
yes.
hard drive, with the whole record on it, so I had it. When the time came, and just miraculously, DB inherited some money when his mother died, and he asked me if I wanted to go in and finish the record, and I was just like, yes, I would like that.
Oh, that is amazing. We love a happy ending, don't we? Actually, this
Yeah,
is
and there were on this hard drive, there were songs on tapes that I had totally forgotten about, that had been recorded but were not on the original I Should Be Happy. So I took some of those songs, put those on and then replaced them, replaced some of the songs on the original with those, and then went into this great studio here in Athens with a guy, David Barbie, who was in Sugar, and he's got a band. He had a band called Mercyland, but he's just a fantastic person and musician. And
is he
so,
the bass player in Sugar?
yeah,
Yes, because I think the drummer was from Boston, wasn't he? He was in.
and they're getting ready to tour again.
They are. I know. After years of decades, I was obsessed with Husker Du in the
Yeah.
80s,
Hmm.
and then I liked Bob's solo album, which probably me and five other people thought were great, but no one else did. So then he formed Sugar and was on Creation Records with Alan McGee, and I went to see them, and God, that album just was incredible.
Yeah,
Actually, it was.
he's got some energy. I saw him, I guess, last year, the year before. He played in Athens, and it was just like, oh my God.
He must have been quite shocked. Well, he must have been shocked that Sugar had reformed, actually. Well, I say that because I did, because the bass player, the drummer, I'd said, "Oh, do you want to do an interview?" He said, "Yeah, but I don't want to talk about sugar." And it was like, and occasionally you get that from people, and
Yeah,
you think that's fine. Now I'm really
interesting.
curious, but the
Yeah,
interview never appeared. But I just thought, yeah, some people have often said, "Yeah, we're going to, we're not talking about that
that's
bit."
done. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that didn't end well then, did it? So obviously, when I saw them reform, I thought, God, there must have been some healing going on
Yeah,
somewhere.
who knows? I mean, now who knows the story?
Or,
David's pretty
or they might
excited
have
about
just said, look, I really could do with some cash as well. But I know, I'm so cynical, aren't I? But you know what I mean? It probably, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think that I think after Bob was doing, well, this is just me. They have nothing to back this up, but I mean, he did a solo tour, and I think it was got such a great response that I think, it was time to rethink it, and see if they would.
Yeah. And also, I think with some people, they think, God, to be honest, all that angst that I've been holding on to since the age of 20.
Oh
It's
yeah.
silly. And if we don't do it now, actually one of us is going to not be around for much longer.
We won't be here.
So I don't want to have that regret. So let's just make that phone call and put those angst. It's probably over a ham sandwich or something.
Right.
Or the way he just sniffed in the bus or something. I don't know, something major. And obviously, the world has been very kind of excited. I must admit, he was very energetic, that bass player. I do remember thinking.
Yeah, he's great.
So yes, he's obviously been having lots of physio if he's still sort of quite that active, I have to say.
He's in really great shape. I mean, he definitely he coaches a baseball, little league baseball team.
Oh, right, because he was very bouncy on stage.
Yeah, and he may not be as bouncy, but
might not be so
last time I saw him, he was pretty bouncy.
He needs to pace himself on that tour then. Yeah.
So anyway, we went into his studio. And
yes, you went into the studio, and that was important.
His studio.
So what did you have to? Did he have to mix it or?
We remixed the whole thing. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Was it kind of magical, sort of having? What is remixing, by the way? I'm pretending.
Oh, it was so much fun. This was my first experience with any of this kind of stuff, because usually I would just sing on any record I'd ever been on, and that was just it. And I wasn't around for any of the other stuff. But so this one, because there were songs that were sort of not really finished, but that I wanted to put on the record and take others off, we just went song by song and just started from the bottom. And, he just would push the instruments up there and see what was on there, and we would decide what we would keep and what we would get rid of, and it was a blast. And he is so upbeat and positive about everything. He has opinions, but he definitely wanted it to be what I wanted it to be, so it was great.
God, it must have been really lovely. Did it feel strange? Did it feel a bit strange and spooky, sort of coming back?
It was scary. Yeah, it was weird, but it was and it was strange because we didn't re-record anything. All we did was use the tracks that were there, and then we added some overdubs. He played piano on a couple songs, and then we got the guitar player from the Q's to play on a couple songs. And so, yeah, it was...
Because you do some great covers. You do The Wind Cries Mary, In My Life. And is there a Sandy Denny track as well in there?
Yeah.
God, I love Sandy Denny.
I love her.
I know. There's a song that I'm really obsessed with at the moment. It's just... not the who knows where the time goes, because
everybody
but
knows.
there is another one that, God, her vocal is just extraordinary. So you've got this 15 track collection, which has just been sort of given a bit of a shine.
Yeah, exactly. That's a way of putting it.
Well, that's all good. So is it, have you probably going to have it on Bandcamp, but will you also be releasing it as a CD and vinyl record as well?
Yeah.
God, that is just...
So those are both available, and I've actually put together a new little combo that we're going to go out, and we're actually just going to play a couple of shows and in Atlanta and Athens, just to kind of support the record, with all new people. And it's really been fun practicing with them.
My God, do you suddenly, is it like some sort of magic potion that suddenly gets you feeling, mentally thinking, right, I've got to do this, and I'm going to have to sort of channel my younger self and be sprightly? And I
don't think I've lost my younger self, unfortunately. I wish I were a lot younger than I am, because it's so much fun. I mean, this band, it's the thing I look forward to more than anything during the week. It's just like, okay, band practice. I can't wait. Going to go band practice,
Well, I could imagine. Yes, I could imagine, rather than sort of mentally true, just going through the motions, being just so... I know, it's lovely, actually. I've done so many interviews with people who just like, this is the one thing that is like, yes, this is going to be a reason for me to keep going much longer, and focus on something so positive. So that's always quite good. Because there's some amazing... Torn Apart is one of those songs on the album, which is stunning. Can you yes, was that one of your kind of favorite ones, or do you have any?
I don't really have any favorites. That was one that I wrote. There are now songs on there that I wrote that weren't on the record before, and so it's very... I'm like, I've never felt so, because I wasn't responsible for writing any music for the Q's or for the Big House of Time or whatever. I could just kind of whatever happened didn't have anything to do with me, and now I'm just kind of, when people say they like a song I wrote, I'm just like, oh, how's that possible? How is that even possible? So it's kind of, I'm very insecure, as you might be able to tell. But it's just really something. So it has kind of inspired me to want to think about, especially with this new band, maybe writing some more songs.
Yes, well, it's nothing like sort of changing one's mantra in life, really, isn't it? I think that's the stories we tell ourselves are quite sort of have quite an impact, and
Oh, yeah.
yes, being able to sort of just think, no, I don't have to say that negative thing to begin a
Yeah.
sentence.
I've just for so long just said, oh no, I can never write a song. I mean, and now I've got, okay, don't say that anymore.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Because there's also, you've got the Dark Room is another amazing track on the album, and obviously, yes, I should be happy as well.
Yeah,
So
Rob
these,
wrote them. No, no,
right,
Clay wrote that one. Clay, that's friends with Reckless Eric, wrote that one. So that's
right.
another reason Clay wanted to get the songs digitized, I think, just because he wanted his song out there.
And
Whatever it takes.
so when is the album actually coming out?
It's out.
It's out and it's doing the business. God, that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
when's your live dates?
Well, the first one is a week from today.
Right.
On April 27th in Athens, and then the next one is May 20th in Atlanta. And then we have another one in between that's just kind of a fun outdoor thing that we got thrown into, but we're looking forward to that too. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's a whole different world with this band, than because I've been in the Q's for so long, and this band has a keyboard player, and
Right.
he's really great, and he also sings, so it's great. I don't know, I can't say enough about these guys. They're just, I can't believe they even want to do it, but
So just go through the band again. There's yourself on vocals, yes.
and then there's Bob Elsey, who is the Q's guitarist, but he's going to play guitar.
Yeah.
And then John Neff is a guitarist, but he's playing acoustic, electric, and dobro. He plays with, he had played with the Drive-By Truckers for a while.
Oh my God, I love that band.
And
God, they did a great song, Neil Young related song to do with Leonard Skinner, which is just a great track.
Yeah, they're friends. Patterson is a really good friend of mine, and I love the Truckers. We met when he was living in Athens, and he was running sound at this little club that we used to play at. But he's such a great guy. So yeah, so John used to play with the Truckers, and then he plays with other bands in town. But he's an great Athens musician, and he was going to play pedal steel, but it's a lot of trouble to carry a pedal steel around. So we're going with dobro. And then Neil Golden is the keyboard player, and he's playing bass on keyboards, but then he also is playing bass on some songs. And then he sings as well. And then the drummer is named Sam Weber, and he's somebody Neil recommended that he had played, he played with him before, and he's 19 years old. So we've got 19.
Excellent. Yes, average just age out immensely, hasn't it, really? It's just very important.
19 to 72. That's our age range.
God. Yeah, so that's
1972. 1972 is the year I graduated from high school. So, yeah.
And actually, I was just looking at some sort of the albums released in that year, quite extraordinary. Really.
Yeah.
Like the 20 best albums or 20.
I did a show with somebody about the top 20 or top 10. Yeah. And
so it was a rather good year for music.
Yeah, it was.
72. So with your practices then, are you the musical director, or do you all sort of
I kind of am, but I don't know all of the ins and outs of music like they do. They know all of the keys and chords and all that. So it's great because they can figure all that out amongst themselves, and then but I kind of say, well, on the record it does this, but I really would like it to do the, so it's great conversation. Everybody's just so easygoing. I mean, I know it's not going to last forever, but it's It's been great, I'll tell you.
It must be such a lovely thing to focus on, actually.
It's just the greatest.
And at the concerts, you'll be selling the album and merchandise. Well, the album.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got shirts.
You've got shirts.
I've got
fantastic.
these buttons that say I should be happy. I've got some temporary tattoos of the artwork from the cover, and some CDs, LPs, and T-shirts, and then buttons. And and I also got some. This is how excited I am about everything. It's ridiculous. There's this. I'm sure you've heard of the candy M&Ms.
Not really. God,
M&Ms are these little chocolate candies.
Right.
And their colors, they come in different colors, but anyway, you can get them where you can have something printed on them. So I should be happy printed on some.
God, that's fantastic. Yes. So
it's ridiculous.
No, it's good. It reminds you of those kind of those rock stories, don't you, backstage where people need to have their sort of all the brand.
Yeah, that's an M&M. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes, those kind of moments. So far, you're just rehearsing. You haven't played live at all. So this is it. So I guess you're going to have quite a launch party with lots of friends, people, community.
Well, no, because nobody cares about this stuff. I mean, it's just like who, what, how, what. She's still around, that kind of thing. But when we booked this date, and it's a really cool little club in downtown Athens, and it's called the Rialto Club. And it's small, and it's all sit down, it's sort of a listening room, that kind of thing. And they told me that they would cancel the show if we didn't sell 50 tickets. And I was just like, oh my God. So, I kept asking her, well, how many have you sold? Well, we've only sold 12. And I was just like, oh my God. So eventually they did sell. She emailed me last week and said, we've sold 49. It's a go.
Oh, that gives you a bit.
So yeah, that's the kind of big party we're going to be having.
Well, I think it's very special. And hopefully your video will record the.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
The evening as well, because that'll be Well, I hope it goes well, actually. But yeah, and then with that in mind, and you did sort of mention, the enthusiasm. Do you think that there is going to be a chance of sort of with the band thinking about putting out another, writing some material and possibly doing some more?
I hope so. I really do. I mean, I think they would all like to do it. Nobody has really talked about it, but Neil has written this. Neil had an album that came out about 10 years ago, and there's a song on it that I really like. So we're going to cover that. So I'm hoping that maybe, we can write some stuff together. I just don't really know. But yeah, I'm going to keep all options open.
Yes. And with the album cover, is it going to be the one that's the one with the bird on the branch? Is that it's going to be still got the same one? Is that from the original, or is that what was
done? The original I Should Be Happy it never came out, so it didn't really have a cover.
It didn't really exist, did it? Sorry, yes, I know that was a bit obvious. Anyway.
Well, I mean, we did make copies of it on cassette, and I made covers for that, but it was nothing like this.
Yes, God, it's very exciting and very special. Look, I thank you ever so much for your time. This has been brilliant.
Thank you.
And I'll send a link to Howard, and
okay.
And that will be good, and hopefully he'll be able to use it elsewhere. But look, good luck for your concerts, and good luck with the album. And there's nothing like. I love archiving. I think this is the best thing in the world, actually.
Well, I'm glad you got to come to the Grand Canyon.
Yes,
that makes me so happy.
It was beautiful, and we went to Flagstaff. We went to Flagstaff as well.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
And I noticed that was it Bad Brown? No, Black Flag were playing.
Yeah, they're back.
They're still going at it. I think there's just one original member, but I thought, yeah, you go for it, guys. Yeah. We weren't there at the same time, but it's the national parks are so beautiful, actually. So
I know, but they're really trying to destroy them. Trump is really working hard to destroy everything. So we'll see how that works out.
Yes, let's keep positive.
Yes.
This is the only way we have to do it, don't we? Yes. Well, look, thank you ever so much. And again, much appreciated for your time. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Have a lovely day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I'll say goodbye. Bye. That was me in conversation with Anne Richmond Boston, talking about her long-lost second solo album that is going to be released on DB Records, titled I Should Be Happy. This is the C86 show, David Eastaugh. Have a great week. Stay safe.